summer, we know many of you are making plans to finally get out in the sun and travel. Well, this video serves as a perfect guide to help you make an informed decision for your well-deserved and much-anticipated holiday getaway. We are joined today by our in-house travel expert, Adam Staunton, who will be reviewing several of our 19th century travel books to give you the oldest scoop on travel here and afar.
For those of you looking for a city break, Galway City comes highly recommended by Joseph Sterling Coyne in The Scenery and Antiquities of Ireland, written in 1842.
Coyne describes Galway as completely Spanish looking, with stairs that remind him of Malaga, fountains from Seville, and architecture from Valencia, and best of all, it's in, quote, horrible preservation. It's not just a city that looks Spanish, but its inhabitants. The colours and noise of the city lead Coyne to remark, Galwayans struck me as different from all other Irish I'd ever seen. Coyne recommends a grand total of 2 things to do in the city. First, the market, which sounds delightful. He says, the noise of potato and pig traders was perfectly deafening, and there seemed the promise of a fight in every group. Secondly, a Roman-style house on Lombard Street, over which the door is sculpted death's head and crossbones. Lovely.
If you're looking for something more in the outdoors, John Francis Waller in Picturesque Europe, Volume 2, written in 1876, describes the giant causeway in County Antrim as a disappointment. He questions how the causeway became famous over Strathel Island, just off the coast of Scotland.
He remarks, how then is it that the causeway became specifically famous and still maintained its reputation? I'm guessing he's not a fan then. Waller instead recommends heading to Donegal, despite having none of the beauty of Wicklow or culture of Dublin. So what is there to do in Donegal, I hear you ask? Well, climb an extremely dangerous mountain called One Man's Pass, of course. To ascend this mountain is an exploit, if not a pearl, affording a very scant footway for the climber, a rocky path only 2 feet wide. We counsel no one to attempt it that has not a good head or a firm foot. It's worth noting that there is a much safer route up the mountain on its other side, but Waller warns people who take it are under the delusion that they have performed a feat of a difficult ascent. After hopefully avoiding certain death on One Man's Pass, you'll be treated to a view of the coast of Mayo and Sligo, a sight not easily equalled in glorious colours, Waller finally concedes.
For those of you looking for a break to the continent, Venice is described by T.J. Bonney in Picturesque Europe, Volume 3, written in 1876, as the most picturesque and almost the most interesting city in southern Europe.
Bonney recommends taking the railway into the city, and from there taking a gondola down the canals. Despite being described as him as torturous, it's a journey well worth the making. Our first stop is the Grand Canal to visit all the local vendors. Who doesn't love a bit of holiday shopping? On the bank are local peddlers, the fish market, and across the bridge is the fruit market, with, quote, dissolving in the mouth figs. Once you've had your fill of figs, it's back on the gondola to St. Mark's Bastilla, which is a feast of culture. As one arrives, the Royal Library is to the immediate left, and is described as one of the finest structures of its date in Italy. To the right is the Great Palace and the City Cathedral. However, Bonney, perhaps due to abundance of figs, can't describe the beauty of St. Mark's for us. I dare not to attempt to describe St. Mark's, for a master's hand has done it. I guess we'll just have to see that one for ourselves. For the nightlife, Bonney does recommend the City Piazza, which comes alive once the sun sets, with the songs of inherent minstrels or chafing with flower girls and peddlers of all kinds.
For those of you looking for a sun holiday, Reverend Samuel Manning in Spanish Pictures Drama Pen and Pencil describes the sun in Madrid as blazing down with a tropical fury, scorching and blistering the very walls. Better pack that sun cream.
We start in the Puerta del Sol, which, despite being described as having absolutely nothing to proclaim by Manning, is full of photographers, tailors, and the Great British Coffee House. From here it's a quick walk south to the Piazza Mayor, which has more of a local flair, with its windowless shops, beautiful balconies, and musicians combined with, quote, peasantry from La Mancha, gypsies from Guadalajara, and smugglers from Andalusia. The Plaza is also home to the city nightlife, which will come in handy, as Manning states, Madrid is surely the noisiest city in the world. Sleep is impossible, he goes on to complain, as the early morning and day is filled with country people selling their produce, while in the evening the streets are thronged with promenaders. The hotels are no help either, as Manning describes them as very bad. But to be fair to Madrid, the hotels might have slightly improved since Manning wrote his review in 1876. If you're looking for a trip outside of Europe, for £26 you can have your choice of cabin on Tuesday or Saturday, travelling from Liverpool to New York. Trips can take between 9 and 12 days. Luckily, we're privileges in the saloon to help pass the time. If you suffer from seasickness, GW Bacon has put together some handy tips in Bacon's Guide to America. You want to eat regularly, but without raising your head for a day or two. Take some mild laxative pills your first night, and if all else fails, lemons will be found to be very useful in allaying seasickness. how fun does that trip sound? If you're stopping in New York, you've plenty to look forward to. Bacon describes it as the most important state, unsurpassed in soil, climate, and beauty of its natural scenery. 1880 New York boasts highlands for sheep farming in its north and western lowlands adapted to all types of grain. If you're looking to shop, liquor, timber and flair are made here in a greater amount than any other state. If you're after a more relaxing trip, New Jersey is just a train ride away, with many natural attractions, a sea coast, and bathing and sporting resorts. If you don't fancy the 12-day lemon-filled trip back to Liverpool, an acre of land in New York will only cost you £400.
You bet I'll be packing the sun cream for the scorching heat of Madrid sometime very soon. Thank you all for coming by for another episode of Library Treasures here at Maynooth University. Have a wonderful summer vacation and we'll see you very soon.